We are for the 2021 Karkloof Trail Series 100 mile. I'm joined again by Linda. Linda, you sleep well last night?
Oh, I slept short but sweet. It was very cold, I must say. Although we're expecting a really hot day today with temperatures up to about 32, last night definitely got to single figures. And here on the polo field, here at the country club, it was very fresh.
Yeah, I must admit I feel for the athletes last night who had to trek through the evening, but we saw the athletes leave here last night at 8 o'clock, where we are here at the Karkloof Country Club. A lot has happened overnight. We've heard that the leaders have already gone through the halfway mark this morning in Benvie. We had Kennedy and Admire, the two race leaders there, and until that stage, we spoke a bit about pacing last night, Linda, and Jo Kepler, who's the leading lady, is now sitting comfortably well within the top 10 overall of the field.
She is. She's just been through Benvie, which is the halfway point where the runners turn around and now loop back. So she's got 50 miles in the bag, under the belt. And yeah, she's sitting in 7th place, so well within the top 10, which is great, and very much according to her plans. So that's great. I must reassure visitors, at least viewers and supporters of Andrew Erasmus and Andrew Beggs, respectively, that their timing chips have been muddled up. Andrew Erasmus is normally is a racing snake, but the live results will show that he's rather near the back end of the field, and Andrew Beggs is near the front end of the field. And please don't be alarmed, supporters of Andrew Erasmus, because the timing chip is of the two are muddled up. So Andrew Erasmus is in fact in 4th place. He is through Benvie, and he's now on his way back in this direction towards Imborna Gate.
As we see, is that Jo Kepler there on screen, Linda?
No, I think that's Trish. That is Jo. That is Jo indeed.
That looks to be the halfway mark there at Benvie.
Right.
Just getting some of her fluids on board.
Okay. And there's a good example of how warm runners get during their run, while we're sitting here shivering because we're sitting still. Jo's in a short sleeve top there, even like a running vest. I see her mum is crewing for her, so she's seeing to Jo's needs and making sure Jo has all her kit. Jo's putting on her earphones, and she'll be off again soon.
And Linda, just in terms of Jo's performance up until this stage, it's just over 9.5 hours into the race. You are her personal coach. According to the plan and what you as a team set out to do beforehand, everything going according to plan?
Yeah, she's well on track. Anything faster than this, I would have felt rather uneasy. But she's well within her plan, and so she's kitting up there, putting her pack back on, and she'll be heading out that checkpoint. It's really important that these front runners don't linger at checkpoints. It's always very tempting, but you've got to, if you are racing for a place or racing for your own self-improvement on a previous time, checkpoints can really chew up time, as you can imagine. And before you know it, 10 minutes has passed, 15. Sometimes if you sit down, sitting down is a bad idea.
Hard to get up again.
Hard to get up again. And Jo's doing exactly what Jo knows she needs to do here. She's come in with a plan and a strategy. She's grabbed the food she's needed. She's eaten. I always recommend leaving a checkpoint eating, perhaps taking a banana in your hand and running off eating it, having restocked with your fluids, filled your soft flasks, and you're on your way. Literally 2 minutes max, and you're out of there.
So as we see visuals there of the 5th aid station, which is at Benvie, the halfway mark of the Karkloof 100 miler, and also the starting pointer this morning of the 50 miler, which, if I'm not mistaken, goes off at 6 o'clock. Got a very elite field there, but we'd like to play some videos of some of the highlights of last night and what happened whilst we were sleeping.
You got it.
Well, we saw some of the highlights from the happenings of the Karkloof 100 miler, which started last night at 8 o'clock. The last little video clip that we saw there, Linda, was and Admire Muzompambwe. So probably two of the fastest men in the field in terms of marathon PBs. Admire, of course, way ahead with his 2:28.
Wow.
Kennedy only has a 2:50 marathon, but I say only 2:50. When you look at his marathon PB on the trail, it's 3:06. So it actually just shows that he's very suited to the trails, and so far so good in the Karkloof 100 miler.
Yeah, and this bodes well in terms of watchability for viewers at home and for us here at the finish line, because that means it's going to be a really a tight race, which is great at the sharp end of the field.
Definitely. So just over halfway into the Karkloof 100 miler, your two leaders, Kennedy Sekuta and Admire Muzompambwe, the Zimbabwean athlete who's based himself in South Africa now. And this is actually Kennedy's second 100 miler of the year, having run the UTD earlier this year. So quite some impressive running. Not as impressive as the athletes that are taking part in the Amuk
Challenge? Yes, yeah. Amuk Challenge is the competition of the 400 milers of trail 100 milers within this competition. It's the Addo 100 miler, the Mac, it's Ultra Trail Drakensberg, and it's the Karkloof 100 miler. And there are 5 contenders to achieve the finishing places of those 400 milers.
And a lady runner amongst them who's actually out here today.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no.
To see some of the live pictures now from Benvie. This is the halfway mark of the Karkloof 100 miler, and also the starting point of the 50 miler, which kicks off at 6 o'clock. So not too long until the runners make their way there. we've got the race organizer, half of the race organizing team, Jack Davis, who will be there and hopefully get some interviews with some of the elite athletes. We've got a stellar field in the men's race. I think one of the firm favorites there, definitely Prodigal Kumalo. His nickname is the Chameleon, given that he's actually a Comrades Gold medalist, double Comrades Gold medalist, and also excels really well on the trail. But then I'm really excited to see the ladies race, Linda. Anne Ashworth, the 2018 Comrades Marathon champion, she followed that up with the 4th place on the following up run. Already winner of the Ultra Trail Drakensberg 100 kilometer earlier this year. But she's going to be pushed by Yolandi McLean, who's also now starting to infiltrate, I would say, onto the trails. 8 times a Comrades Marathon gold medalist. So nice to see the road athletes mixing it up with the trail athletes here.
Indeed. And of course, it is important to remember that the Karkloof 100 miler does complement the style of a road runner, a fast road runner. These are trails, absolutely, but they're less technical trails than many of the other trail races, whatever distance around the country. These trails are very, very runnable. It's a fast 100 miler. In comparison with something like, for instance, the Cedarburg 100 miler, which is in 2 weeks' time, which is extremely technical, and really it's the finishing times of 100 milers that reflect the degree of difficulty of a 100 miler, and I'll go into that later. But I think we need to just have a look at and let the viewers know how many people are through Benvie, the halfway point, at which point they turn around and set off on their way back here. We've got Kennedy and Admire neck on neck, leading the race.
Exciting
Martin
racing.
Herb is in 3rd place, just 6 minutes behind them through Benvie. And I must we must at this point just reassure viewers that Andrew Beggs and Andrew Erasmus have mixed up their timing chips. Andrew Erasmus is actually in fourth place, not Andrew Beggs.
And as a coach, Linda, too, Andrew Beggs, you must have thought, phew, my training's going awesome to see Andrew Beggs up there.
Andrew Beggs must have really upped his game a lot, and Andrew will chuckle at that when he watches the replay of this live feed. But yeah, Andrew Erasmus is in 4th position, where you would expect him to be. He's always at the sharp end of a race, and we're expecting Andrew to tickle the podium absolutely today, for sure.
Yes, definitely. Andrew Erasmus, 2 times second place finisher in the Karkloof Trail Series, and I think we will definitely see a reshuffle of those top positions as the race makes its way to the Karkloof Country Club. We spoke about it last night. It was all about pacing. We saw when the athletes came through here to the first aid station 10 miles into it, the leaders looked quite flustered. They just wanted to get in and out, and we saw the more experienced guys like Andrew Erasmus just coming through, taking their time, knowing that 100 miles is a very long way. But in terms of our leading lady, Linda, Jo Kepler, through that halfway point now and up to 6th place overall.
Yes, Jo's cruising. She's well within her plan, her strategy, and still on plan A. I always tell my runners to, whatever caliber they are, wherever they are in the field, to always approach a race with a plan A, and a B and a C, just contingency plans, because a lot can happen over 100 miles, a lot. It can be weather related, energy levels related, self-management related, and all of these are factors that affect the night, the day, the following night, depending on how long you're going to be out there. Certainly the second half of the field of this race will be out on the course well into tonight, and some obviously will only finish this race just before cut-off tomorrow, so a good 24 hours time.
Yeah, I think those athletes who do make it through here to the finish by Sunday morning, I think they deserve 2 buckles, because that's pretty impressive going. As we see, if I'm not mistaken, is that Jack Davis perhaps there?
Yeah, he's about to start the 50 miler, I think, at Benvie, which is, of course, the halfway point for the 100 miler.
Sorry, I've muted you.
She was 8 hour 11. And
Good morning again, viewers. We're at the 6 o'clock start. We're here at the Karkloof Country Club, and what's happening at Benvie, which is 50 miles away as the route goes, is they're about to start the 50-mile race. It's about to start any minute. And Benvie obviously is the turnaround point for the 100-miler, and it's the start of the 50-mile race. And we're going to cut across to the live feed to see that race start. And now we're going to cross over to New Zealand, where we have a live feed with Naomi. How are you? And I need to put you into my ear, Naomi. Sorry about this. Right, hello. I can hear you. I can hear you. It's cold, but it's going to be a hot day. It's going to reach 32 today, but we've had single figures overnight. Yeah. And how is New Zealand today? Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're missing you here in South Africa, and the trail world is missing you, especially. And are you experiencing FOMO today? Mm. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, 2017 and your Karkloof performance was outstanding. Tell us about that experience. Obviously, you came first woman, but you were third overall with a great time of 18:19. Take us through that race, or especially the second half. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, pain is pain. A certain amount of pain is always part of the recipe, isn't it? Yeah. Of course, you did go on a couple of years later to win Ultra Trail Drakensberg overall as first woman. So you certainly did it for the women in that race instead of in this race. Well, I think you're being very modest there because, I think every trail runner knows how much energy we get from our fellow runners, and often when we're running solo out there, especially on an ultra like this, and we happen to hook up with another runner along the way, how much you feed off each other, and it's really great. You fuel each other on, and you mentioned pacing and paces. Obviously, not every race allows paces, but paces do enable an advantage, an encouragement, a motivation for the runner, an upliftment of spirit, and it really does help if you have the right paces. Tell us a bit about your experience with pacing in this race. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. OBS, yeah. That's quite a hectic thing to navigate all the time. Yeah, true. Yeah.
All right.
Good morning, everybody, and it's 6:15 here at the Karkloof Country Club Race Village for the 2021 version of the Karkloof Trail Series. 100 miler out there, 50 miler just started, and registration for the marathon and shorter distance is now open. 45 minutes off the first batch of marathon starters. We've got you in quite small batches. We spread you out through the morning. Last group only going off on the 10K. It's going to be pretty warm by then. It's going to be 9 o'clock. But think about those hundreds and fifties. They're going to be out there for most of the day. The leading 100 miler runners have turned through the start. They're on their way back. But I think we can expect our first runner to be a 50 miler. Would be what I anticipate.
Pacer needs to give an encouragement and a gentle push. Tell us a bit about the low moments that you experienced in your 2017 Karkloof, and what strategies you use to pick yourself up out of low moments and dips.
No two ways about that. It's going to be a warm day. Lots of ice and water. It's going to be needed. Pushing it out onto the course already. Lots of supply reserve. But welcome once again, and yeah, if you have just arrived, make sure you register inside the building. Registration taking place inside the building. Have your race number, get it nice and clearly on the front. And I'll call the batches, batch by batch, as the day gets started and going. Just call through the batches. 7 o'clock, that first batch going off. It's a 42-kilometer start. And they'll be running what we call the honey loop first, and then into the milk loop, which all the 21Ks will be running. And then the final start of the day, the 10-kilometer. It's going to be a bit later on, starting from 8:30.
Yeah. 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 Yes. Yeah. 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 Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You that last point there, I heartily agree with, because we all go in with a plan and a strategy, and we've hopefully visualized what we're going to do in certain instances during a race. But I think the art is then applying it and remembering to apply it. And I know that many runners have different strategies to remind themselves to eat. Some people put a regular alarm on their watch, or but it's such an easy mistake to make. I think it's the most common mistake to make is to telling yourself that, oh, I won't eat just yet. I'll eat it after that next peak or that. And you'd be surprised how much time passes where you miss that eating phase, and before long nausea can set in, and then it's almost too late. Then you have a dip and your blood sugar level drops. It's downhill from there. So you've got to not let that happen. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. So Naomi, let's talk about you and your plans for the next 6 months. This is COVID aside, lockdown aside. I know that New Zealand is in and out of little lockdown windows, which we always chuckle about in South Africa here, because, you know, one person with COVID in the entire country of New Zealand and the whole country locks down, which is good. I mean, it's excellent management. But so that aside, what are your race plans for the next 6 months and year? All going well? Nice. Great. Yeah. Yes. Taupo. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Indeed. That's very exciting. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. But that's also good for the system. It allows the racing legs to rest, and you gather yourself for the next wave of races, and strong Naomi running and winning. We have high hopes for you. Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, pretty chilled vibe here at the race village this morning. The 150 all out on course now. The last 50 miles.
Yeah.
5 minutes ago from Benvie for 50 miles.
Yes, enough rest.
But you're getting things going, gearing up. You
Yeah,
still got
yeah.
over half an hour.
Well, it's been so brilliant catching up across the miles with you, and we've all enjoyed hearing you. I'm sure the viewers watching on their laptop screens all over the country have enjoyed hearing from you and seeing you, and all the very best with Taupo in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks time, 100K.
Very quiet in there at the moment.
And
to get it done nice and early. Pin your race number nice and clear.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but all the very best and great catching up. Cheers. Cheers. And now we'll cross back to Benvie, which is the halfway point. It's checkpoint 5, aid station 5. It's the halfway point for the 100 milers, and it's where the 50 miler started 22 minutes ago. We're crossing over to a video of Martin Melherber, who came into Benvie more than an hour ago, in 3rd position, looking very strong and full of vigor. Just having his number screened there, and he was out of there within a minute, and on his return journey.
Yeah, just that one spoon for.
Here's a spoon.
Yeah, looking good. Telling rough. Yeah, looking good.
Kennedy and
Oh, so no Tyson.
no, maybe if you want to mix that one jerry, are you going to do one in the big one? Huh?
So
Even that one big jerry can of ours.
Did you find the water?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, maybe then it's easier. Huh?
Yeah. Okay, so.
Running in the opposite direction and straight across
beautiful
the field.
scenes
But I will do
there
a
of
final race
Wilma
briefing,
and Benvie,
a few
where
minutes
the
before we set
halfway
you all out.
markers,
Try
and
and get as many
it's really
people to
exciting
listen
here
to
at
as
the
possible.
Karkloof
Couple of
Country Club, where we are
because
at 7
running some
o'clock.
pretty
The
heavy
first of the
logistics,
elite athletes
so
in the
many
42
races going on
kilometer
at
will
the
still
same
be
time.
taking off.
We believe
There's
we've
a
got
whole
it down,
host of
but
events
I
here.
will
We
need
have
to
the
tell you
100
one or two
miler,
pieces of
the 50
information
miler, which started
out there. But I
shortly,
won't tell you
just
now.
a couple
The moment
minutes
is
ago
enjoy a nice
in
relaxed
Benvie.
morning here
We've got
at
the
the
marathon
Karkloof
distance
Country
today,
Club,
a 21K
Karkloof
and a 10 kilometer Linda.
100
So
miler and trail
many
festival
events here. And on that note,
2021.
let's take a little look at what happened here in 2019.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. This day is gonna be the greatest memory, making history. Let's go. You don't need no luck, that golden touch. Time to light it up. Let's go. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go! 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 Yeah, this is it. Go! Go! Let's go! Yeah, this is it. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, it's about to break. Got what it's gonna take. Go ahead and on that stage. Let's go. When you're made for this, yeah, it's obvious. Top another list. Let's go. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Yeah, this is it. Go! 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 Yeah, this is it. Go! Let's go! Yeah, this is it. Let's go! Yeah, this is it.
Those are some great highlights from the 2019 Karkloof 100 miler. And now we're going to show the flyover from the turnaround point Benvie through to Mbona Gate, which is the next checkpoint for the 100 miler, checkpoint 6, or the first checkpoint for the 50 miler.
Today's life got in the way. We've come back with a bang, and last night definitely showed that.
Yeah, it looks quite varied. There's quite a few climbs there.
Of course, from Benvie, they're running back.
And obviously those 50 milers will be going at quite a pace. They're fresh legs, early in the morning, adrenaline filled. They'll be going out at quite a pace.
Over 700, but
and also this
we do know
could
that there are a number of
play mind
withdrawals,
games
and
on
it'll be very
the
interesting to see
leaders
how
of
many
the 100
actual
mile if they
starters
start seeing
we
athletes
get at the end of the day.
running quite
We're
fast
batching
past them.
into
It's hard to tell
different
whether the
batches.
athlete will be in the 50
After
mile or
racing
the 100
snakes,
mile.
please to make sure
Well,
they are in that
thankfully
first
they
batch,
have
so the race can take place.
they have their numbers on both sides, on the back of their pack and on the front. So when a runner runs through you, you can see which race they're in. But you do raise a good point there, Cuan, because now that those 100 milers who have turned at Benvie and are now making their way back, will be able to see which runners are behind them, because now they'll be going back on the field. So, for example, Joe Kepler will be able to see the second lady and how far she is behind Joe, and it's gives the runner in front a tactical advantage there.
And we saw Joe; she was a 7th overall through that halfway point at Benvie, quite a distance ahead of the second place athlete Linda. But as you've mentioned quite a few times, 100 miles, anything can happen.
Yeah, it's a very long way. I always think that, as they say, a 100-mile race really starts at the 100K mark. Although with this race, with Karkloof, I think mentally making that turn at Benvie, where you've still got 80 Ks still to go, and you've got a full day for most of them, full day, and even into the night of the race.
As we look at some of the Karkloof 100 miler aid stations, as you've mentioned there, Benvie Gardens, that was the halfway mark and start point of the 50 miler, where we are based here at the Karkloof Country Club. Shortly we'll be seeing the first athletes leaving in the and 10 kilometers later on the day. But I must say, Linda, this trail running bug is quite addictive. I can't guarantee I'll be here next year in the commentary studio, because I think I might be out there on the race. I want to feel what these athletes are feeling, but I don't think I'm ready for 100 miles just quite yet.
Cuan, I'm glad to hear that this bug is biting. It's a contagious bug, I must warn you. And so many road runners are using this year and the lack of road running events that we've had to test their ability on trail and try out trail.
And quite interesting, viewers can't see on their screen right now, but two of the athletes just walked past our commentary studio now, Linda, both athletes that will be running the marathon distance. And one of the gentlemen in the white compression socks is actually Matlumulo Sekonyana, who was 4th in the last Comrades Marathon uprun. So
wow.
I think if any of the trail runners are thinking that they've got this 42k distance under wraps today, I think they're going to be challenged definitely by the very small and light man who trains down in the Ndwedwe Valley, down in KZN. So definitely one of the guys to look out for today.
Wow. Wow. And presumably he won't mind today's heat. He'll be quite used to the sweltering temperatures of that valley.
Yeah, no, definitely. And quite ironically, I've been to many of their training sessions down in the valley in Ndwedwe, and it can be 25, 30 degrees, yet they're still running with tracksuit tops on. I don't quite understand how they do it, but their thought process behind it is that it cuts off all the weight and it keeps them lean and mean for the racing.
Well, he does look lean and mean. He looks lighter than any runner I've seen in either field so far.
And as you mentioned earlier, just in terms of the technicality of the Karkloof 100 miler, you did mention it was more suited perhaps to the road runners because it wasn't that much of technical aspects to the course. If we had to take into consideration marathon road personal best, the fastest person in the entire field today, although he is doing the 50 miler, is Prodigal Kumalo. He's got a 2:16 marathon personal best, followed by Admire Muzompalwa, who's currently in the lead with Kennedy in the 100 miler. He's got that 2:28. But then the third fastest athlete here today, Anne Ashworth, 2 hours 34 minutes over a marathon. That's hard to keep up with on a race that's so open like the Karkloof 100 miler. Although today Anne taking part in the 50 mile.
Very interesting. I think today's course is definitely going to play to Anne's strength. She's still fairly new to trail, but doing very well in it. She won the Ultra Trail Drakensberg 100K, as you know, Cuan, and she's going to be running the Ultra Trail Cape Town the end of November, the 100K, which is considerably more technical than today's 50 miler, even though it's only 20 Ks further. It's quite different terrain, absolutely, and more technical too than UTD, Ultra Trail Drakensberg. So it'll be interesting seeing how Anne performs at the end of the year.
All good on that front, and a very relaxed morning now, I must say.
And as you mentioned, quite rightly so, very technical course. There are quite a lot of open quick sections as well. But I remember a few years back when I was there at the event, seconding Prodigal Kumalo, who's, as we mentioned, in the 50 miles today. That section for the first 10 kilometers is not so bad, but between 10 Ks to about 30-35 Ks while you go into the Table Mountain section, that was very, very technical with a lot of rocky terrain. And I want to touch on that, Linda. When the races do get very technical, that's where you see the difference between a road athlete and a trail athlete. Do you put it down to just experience and doing a lot of these events, or is it something that you technically have to include in your training program and basically just master the art of the technical sections?
What I would call the original course.
Absolutely, Cuan. You do have to practice, and you can get out of practice as well with it. You need to train on mountains if you're going to run mountain terrain. You need to simulate the race conditions and race terrain as best you can when you prepare for these races. So if you're preparing, for example, for a particularly mountainous race, you need to do the best you can on your long weekend runs to simulate those conditions and get out into the mountains and practice your ascending and very much your descending. Technical descents can be very tricky, very risky on the ankles. It's obviously eccentric muscle load, which is a terrific strain on the legs. You'll know a lot about DOMS, dramatic onset of muscle soreness. For those who are not used to dramatic descents, be it road running or trail, it's DOMS is a very tight tightening really of the quads the day after a dramatic downhill, and conditioning the legs for that sort of terrain is really critical for performance.
And sometimes DOMS even kicks in worse on the second day.
Second day after, absolutely.
I think the closest I've been to running in a trail event, although it's not classified really as a trail event, was the Sani Stagger. I did the half marathon there, which starts at the top of Sani Pass and makes its way down all the way to Sani Pass Hotel. And I can honestly say that I've never been more sore in my life after running that half marathon 2 days later, and I've completed 3 comrades. That was the type of pain that I had to endure, and it was a good 4 to 5 days until my legs actually started to feel any form of normality again.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, there's the other pain comparison, really, of the pain after comrades. 90 Ks hammering on tar. I've always found that my muscle pain after a comrades is significantly more than my muscle pain after 100 miles. Double the distance on trail, almost double the distance on trail. Tar is a great hammering on the muscles. It's really not great for the body. And that's another pro, another thumbs up that us trail runners have of the road, is the strain on the body of road and tar.
And of course, running on the trails, because it's a variety of surfaces, you're actually working a lot more muscle groups than you would just running the road. So in actual fact, for road runners and professional athletes actually who run comrades, doing trail running could hugely benefit them when it comes to the road, because it will make you stronger in places you never even knew you could get stronger.
That's right. And I really believe a combination of both makes the best runner.
So we see some of the pictures on the screen still of a few of the highlights as the athletes made their way through from the Karkloof Country Club, where we are situated here. The start and finish maybe of a multitude of events, including the 100-miler. Of course, at the halfway mark in Benvie is where the 50-miler is starting today. So it'll be interesting to see the athletes as they make their way through. They'll be on their way to Mboma now, if I'm not mistaken. The leaders at that stage were still Kennedy Sikuta, and it was at Maya Muzompangwa who were together. And that's going to be interesting, Linda, as the race goes on, whether they can stick together and make it a 2-horse race, or will the likes of Andrew Erasmus and those more experienced in 100 miles slowly but surely start chipping away at that lead gap?
I think my money is on Andrew Erasmus hitting the podium. Whether he'll be able to take on Kennedy and Admire, I'm not sure. I must point out to viewers back home who are checking the live timing that Andrew Erasmus, not Andrew Beggs, is in fact in 4th place. It says on the timing that it's Andrew Beggs, but actually the chips have been muddled up. So Andrew Erasmus is in 4th place, not Andrew Beggs. And I see on my live timing that the second lady is just through Benvie, the halfway point of the 100-miler, which is great, Debbie Mahoney. And behind her is Trish Eckstein, who's still making her way to Benvie, not too far behind her, but the lead lady, Jo Kepler, is well through Benvie and on her way back to Mbona Gate. And of course, Jo will have the advantage now that she's on the return journey, that she will pass Debbie, who's in 2nd place. They will see one another, and Jo will be able to see the time difference between the two. So it gives Jo a tactical advantage to see the distance between her and the second lady.
And
always useful.
If I'm not mistaken, Linda, the time gap there through the halfway mark, almost close on an hour, perhaps, between Jo and Debbie.
Yes, you're right.
So
Yeah, so it's significant.
Well, that can have a huge boost in morale for someone like Joe. It can
Yes.
also worry an athlete like Debbie, who at this stage may not be that comfortable with a time gap like that, and could end up pushing a little bit too hard to try and close that.
Indeed, but I can still say it's still early days, even though both are through the halfway point. They still have 70 and 80 kilometers to go, and a lot can happen. And from a road running perspective, that's almost a full comrades. So it's a good day's running, so a lot can happen.
Yeah, I was about to say, as the leaders and Joe make their way through to the format, they've literally completed a comrades marathon and have just under another one to go.
Yes, it is. It's fascinating. Of course, their pace last night would have been slower than that same distance done in the daytime, because of visibility at night being reduced, because you're only running to your headlamp. You don't get to see any landmarks around you. You have to just trust the single track that you can see in front of you. This is a very well marked race, so it's very unlikely that any runners would lose their way. It's also not a technical route, so there's at no point is there ever any doubt of the route ahead, which is great and very reassuring for runners.
If you watch the start yesterday,
to the organisers and who Ruth and Jake Davis and their team.
strange start
A
for the
really great organisation
that
for
honey
the
first
Karkloof
to run
series.
in the opposite
Well-marked
direction.
routes,
You'll be running across the
beautiful
field.
tent village here where we based at Karkloof Country Club. And both organising and the runners are surely
They both got Karkloof Trail Marathon on, but the other one
as we still see some of the athletes there
that you'll
at
start at and
Benvie,
run
the halfway mark
between the tents,
of
take a
the
sharp
100
left
miler and the
then,
start of the 50 miler.
onto the
A lot
field.
of athletes
The markers go all the way around the edge of the field, and
girls,
then you pick up the trail on the other
on
side.
board,
So a bit of
perhaps
a
some
strange start in the sense that you are
coffee
going in
perhaps
other
as well for
direction,
some of them.
but you move back to one of your aid stations prior to running it,
The leaders have
and you'll
gone
do your other route,
and
the milk
as it
route
gets
on the
deeper
other
into the
side.
field
And I've
at
been
these aid
very
stations,
accurate
the runners
race
stay
sweeping
for longer and longer
just
when
before
they
I
get to
send
these
them off,
points.
especially on the 42s.
Yeah, aid stations can really chew up your time. And Cuan, if you think about it, there are 10 aid stations in the 100 miler, and if you take 10 minutes at every aid station, that's well over an hour and a half. So imagine if you take 20 minutes at some of the aid stations, you can chew up time, waste time, and for many of the backfielders, they can jeopardize their race finish if they linger at aid stations.
Definitely, especially the ones that are
running on this marathon course, ignore it, continue following those pink markers,
Indeed.
and the marshal will confirm.
And speaking of cutoffs, there are various cutoffs in the second half of the race for the 100 miler. The first cutoff is obviously at the turnaround point. It's still several hours to go. It's at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's at Benvie Gardens. The 100-mile runners need to have passed through Benvie Gardens at the very latest 2 p.m. And from that point, there are various cutoffs from there on. The next one being Bush Willow at 9 o'clock tonight. So yeah, those backfielders need to start clock watching and making sure that they're within their schedule.
Yeah, and when it comes to cutoffs, it's always quite an emotional thing, especially if an athlete had to miss the cutoff at the finish. I know watching comrades and the guys are out there all day for 12 hours, whereas it's 36 hours if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
So that's a very long time to be out there. It reminds me almost of the I think it's the Barkley Marathon, where they actually haven't had a finisher in the last couple of years.
No, they didn't for years, and sometimes it would be a solo finisher. Sometimes it would be so close that the guy's within minutes of reaching that finish line and doesn't do it. They've recently just done the Barkley Marathons, and they had a whole host of finishes. So some years can be better than others depending on weather conditions. And yeah, it's always a gripping finish watching the Barkley Marathons.
And the distance of the Barkley Marathon, how far is that?
Start finisher. So 3 aid stations across the course. You've got your
I don't have those stats with me at the moment, but we can. That's a good point you make there, because many. 100 miles is 100 miles, but the distance may be the same, give or take a few Ks or miles, but the finish time of 100 milers can differ considerably. For instance, Karkloof here is modeled very much on Western States. Western States 100, an iconic American race, is a very open, very runnable, very fast 100 miler, and its winning times and its course record time reflects that. The course record time for Western States is 14 hours and 9 minutes. Jim Walmsley, the 3-time winner of it, consecutive years. So 14 hours and 9 minutes for Western States, and yet you take another iconic American 100 miler, the Hard Rock 100. Its finishing time is some 7.5 hours faster, slower than Western States. 7.5 hours, 21 hours 45. It's incredible. So really the finish times reflect the degree of difficulty and the course conditions on the day.
No, most definitely, and that's
You are in that first batch. You've got less than 10 minutes till you start. You've got a few people who started to check in
and he's got a
already.
bit of a South
Batch
African
1
connection
runners can
because
scan
he's
in.
won the Western States 100 miler, and for the last 2 years he's actually wanted to come out and run comrades,
in front
but
of the
unfortunately due to COVID that hasn't materialized, but hopefully we see comrades back here next year,
build up.
and then we can see the great Jim Walmsley
Shuttles up
out
here
in
at 5
action on
o'clock
the
to the
road,
start of the
and
50
such a
miler. They've all
phenomenal
got
athlete.
course
I mean,
now.
on the trail he's been dominating, on the roads
100 miler runners
he ran a
have turned
103 half marathon,
running
which
back
is
to
world
two
class
border
amongst road
now.
runners, and
About to
fascinating
get
character
42s
who just
underway.
goes out
In that
there
first
and
batch,
defies
please do check in with Dane and all racing
basically barriers
people.
they get
You are
put
running
in front
for a
of them.
podium before you're ready.
Yeah.
He can accomplish them.
Yeah, he's incredible, and it's been incredible watching him grow and mature as an ultra trail runner. Always been very good, but his approach and his level of maturity has I must say impressed me over the last couple of years. There was a certain level of arrogance in his first Western States and second Western States, but now he's certainly tempered that, and his whole approach to running is incredible. And his talent is incredible. But another incredible trail runner, especially on technical terrain, is Francois Dehen. He has the Hard Rock 100 record. He has the record for Grand Raid of Reunion. He also has the record for UTMB. And it's his course record that is the Hard Rock 100, 21 hours 45. Incredible. Another record to mention is his Grand Raid of Reunion, which is one of the toughest 100 milers on the planet. Obviously run on the island of Reunion, a volcanic island. It has 9,500 meters of vertical gain, as opposed to, for example, Karkloof, which is just over 3,000. And his course record for that is 22 hours 58. It's incredible, and I must again compare it to Western States 14 hours and 9 minutes. So, you know, that's a nearly 8 hours, 7 3/4 hour time difference for the same distance.
And I must ask that if his course record, such a phenomenal athlete, is 22 hours 58, what would the cutoff be for that?
The cutoff is 60 hours.
Wow.
60 hours for Grand Rate of Reunion, yeah. It's incredibly difficult, it really is. And such an iconic race. I've done it myself, and it's the vibe at that race. It has a field of 2,500 runners. Yeah, it's massive. And
so it's almost the comrades of the trail runners in terms of numbers.
Well, no, many of the UTMB has a similar size field. Many of these large, and I keep using the word iconic, but that's what these are. These races are very much on the world map of trail running. They're the big names out there, and the States has many of them. You know, I've only mentioned a couple, but the States racing calendar is riddled with 100-milers. Most of them considerably less technical than many of our 100-milers, but some are very technical, like Hard Rock 100. But they're very lucky. They have such a selection to choose from. Really.
All right, 5 minutes to go, everybody. So if you are in the first batch of marathoners, I can see that some of you are standing on that side. And I want you all in the first one in between the two dances. It's the runner-only zone. Please make sure you have checked in with Dave. I know a lot of you on this side have. If you haven't checked in, this is only batch 1 of the 42 kilometers. Only batch 1. If you haven't checked in with Dave, you need to check in with Dave to get scanned. Everybody in my runner-only zone needs scanned. I'm going to keep repeating this because it's an important part of this procedure. You don't need to scan our crew luckily. If you are, you need to scan, fix it. If you haven't been checked in
this runner-only zone, you do need to come to the KZN display where we're scanning everybody through. This is batch 1 only. We're starting here at 7 o'clock, which is in about 3.5 minutes. With about 1 minute to go, I'm going to give you your absolute final instructions, which are the 3 most important things you'll need to know. If you've run many KZN TR events, you'll probably be absolutely fine. But we've drawn far and wide in the country here, and there's quite a few of you guys who are running your first race with us. I've said it a few times, guys, but the couple of important pointers for the 42s, this is specific for the marathon, is that there are some arrows on course because of the 100-milers out and back nature that will be facing back towards you. So please don't be perturbed if you see a chalk arrow that's pointing at you. Run the pink markers in front of you and then engage with each and every marshal. It's quite a logistical thing to make sure you guys stay on the correct course and don't get mixed up in the 100-milers, because that's why we've got a lot of marshals out there and they'll make sure you stay on course. For your start, guys, you're running out here. There's your very first marshal. He's going to marshal. You're going to hit that flag over there, and then you'll see your pink markers. Don't go straight across the field. They take you around the edge, just as the 100-milers did last night, out of there, and then onto the trail that takes you along the road, under the bridge, so you're not crossing the main road,
all the way up on the honey loop, back in here. When you come through here, you literally run straight through the start-finish area here, cross the road onto what we call the milk loop, and then when you get back here the second time, you'll have completed the full marathon distance. This is the start of the first batch in the marathon. I have the time as 6:59 almost on my clock. We've got just a minute or so to go. If anybody is still checking into the first batch, please make yourself known. Has everybody in this batch checked in and been scanned? Dane, are you ready with timing? I've got a thumbs up there. We're very close to the start of, it's the third race. The 100 milers went away last night at 8 o'clock. The 50 milers at 6 o'clock this morning. This is the start of the Karkloof Trail Marathon. The very first Karkloof Trail Marathon was supposed to happen on the 20th of June. We've got 4 batches going off. This is the elites. These guys are going to show us how to run a course like this. We're going to count them down in just a few moments. I want to get as close to 7 o'clock as possible. And it's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take it away!
You're gonna have to catch up now.
There we go, that's batch 1 underway. If you are in the second batch, 10 minutes to go. 10 minutes to go, you can start checking in. Please do scan in at the KZN Trail Running Gazebo. Very important part of the procedure. You want to know exactly who's out there on course.
No, yeah, I like the time. And I've never read.
Going off at a 10 past 7. You guys can be checking in, get scanned in by Dane, who's at the KZN Trail Running Gazebo there. Once you've been scanned in, step inside to the runner-only zone. You saw the first batch head out there. We're cruising around the edge of the field. As I said to them, there are 1 or 2 arrows, chalk arrows pointing back at you guys on the course. Don't be perturbed by those. They're used for the 100 miler as well. And not all the arrows are pointing in your direction. Rather run the pink markers and then make sure you engage with those marshals. Honey loop first, back into the aid station here. Pirates aid station over here, you can see it set up. We'll run straight out that trail marathon arch there under the trailhead onto the milk loop, and only when you come back in the second time, everybody who's finishing is coming from that direction and then straight under the arch for your finish here on the field at the Karkloof Country Club. Got about 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes to go until we send off the second batch. So only the second batch checking in now. If you are in the third or the fourth, just hold back a little bit there.
I'm going to come back to you again, sorry. And apologies, there you saw me talking, but unfortunately we had a bit of a technical difficulty there. But the marathon has just started here, the 42-kilometer distance at the Karkloof Country Club. I expect to see some strong competition there. We've got the likes of Matlumulo Sekonyana, who was fourth on the last Comrades Marathon. They say that dynamite comes in small packages. That's definitely the case for Matlumulo, weighing in at around 45, 46 kilograms for a full-grown man. Although he is a very, very tiny but very, very good runner. Of course, COVID protocols being followed here at the event in batches of 10-minute sections that the athletes are leaving. But as the leaders in the 100 miler make their way through to the Mboma section, which is the 6th aid station into the event, let's take a little look more at the area.
I reckon it'll be about a 3-hour, maybe.
Well, beautiful scenes there from the Mboma station, which will be the 6th aid station in the 100 miler. Of course, the first for the 50 miler athletes who started there at Benvie earlier today. But beautiful settings here at the Karkloof Country Club where we are based. The music is pumping. The crowd are gathering here. The second batch of the 42-kilometer are about to start as we see some athletes there making their way through to Mboma Gate station. But let's take a look back in some beautiful imagery of the 2020 Karkloof Ultra Trail Series.
Going off at 10 past 7. Final few minutes to check in there. I think I've got
Here we go. First one's coming in now. I think so. I don't think 100 mile is running like that, Dad. Jordan, you can reset. I've got it from here. Reset for the next runner. Coming here, coming here. Reset, George. Jordan, move slightly higher up. I'll have a look at it now, but sorry about that. You're babysitting me. I'm sorry about that. Reset. Jordan, you must reset sooner. Don't come down so far. I'll get them. This one. No.
Are you going live again?
I was. I'm now moving on to sound. I'll run. My sound is here.
Maybe we are live.
My microphone is here. They still pick it up. So I just unplugged it. Scan you. How's your leg? Good. Stop for a sec, John. On your way. Stop for a sec, stand still now. Have you been scanned?
Which way are you going? How much you're up? Nothing to drink. Okay, which way are you going? That way.
Jason up? Okay, so I'll give you some of the stuff you can before. That's fine. See you just now. So you're on the other side of the phone. Yeah, that's how the game is. Thank you so much. Good, yeah, that's I was sitting on the ground, one of those put on your legs. You're okay. He's got no such thing.
There were so many people you just had to your clothes, and everybody knows. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. And everybody knows that it's now or never. Everybody knows that it's me or you. And everybody knows that it's forever. Everybody knows rock.
We get your heart rate sitting at 6. Brilliant. Something's wrong,
Well, the live pictures there are from Morning Gate, the 6th gate station in the route of the 100 miler. And we've had some exciting athletes that are going through there. The race leaders still at Maya Muzompambwa and Kennedy Sukute that went through, but not far behind them, just about a minute and a half, was Nzwake Kanyile. So the top 3 men at this stage drilling it out, and you're going to see some exciting racing as the day goes on.
Yeah, this
About 8
is
minutes
really
to go.
good.
So if you are in the first batch,
To remind the viewers that Mzwaki, who, as you say, is in third place, is actually the record holder on this course. In 2019, he set the record 17 hours 27 minutes. So he's definitely, he'll be chasing that. He's probably playing quite a tactical game, not going out, probably holding back, not going out too soon, holding back behind Admire and Kennedy. So now he's on their heels, and they're the lead pack, which is great. Martin Malherbe is behind Mzwaki, and not very far behind. And then just after Martin comes Andrew Rasmussen. We must remind viewers who will be following on the live tracking that there has been a muddle up of the trackers between Andrew Erasmus and Andrew Beggs. It's in fact Andrew Erasmus who's in 5th place at the moment, not Andrew Beggs.
And that looks, Linda, like Jo has now made her way through to the Mboma station on the right-hand side of our picture there. Things going very, very well for your athletes today so far.
Yes, Jo has a significant lead above the second lady. I think roughly an hour. You can see things are heating up there. Temperatures are rising. We had a very cold night. Fine for the runners, but not so fine really for the back fielders if they slowed to a walk. But thankfully the conditions, aside from the cold, the conditions were dry and good. So yes, there's Jo at Mbona Gate. I actually think it's probably past Mbona Gate. It's probably the mobile or the caravan aid station after Mbona Gate, called Somni Crossing.
Well, according to the tracker, Jo's gone through the Mboma Gate in 11 hours 37 minutes.
Yeah.
Only 6 minutes down on Andrew Erasmus, who's a two-time second place finisher here. So I know it's still early. There's a long way still to go. But do you think perhaps we might see Jo not only totally dominating the women's race, but maybe closing in on a top 3 podium overall?
Well,
25 minutes behind the lead men at this stage.
That'll be interesting to see. She just needs to keep steady, keep focused. I see she's been well looked after there by her second and her crew, which is led by her mum, and she's in very good hands. Off she goes. She knows that she shouldn't spend longer than a minute and a half to 2 minutes at each aid station. Time can really get wasted at checkpoints, and they're very compelling. There's nothing more compelling than a delicious aid station, especially when you're tired. Later on in the day, the backfielders will spend a lot of time lingering at aid stations, and it all clocks up. If you add together 10 aid stations and spend 10 to 15 minutes at each, that's a lot of wasted time. And it's time that's valuable to the backfielders. They can actually miss a cutoff and not reach the finish by lingering too long at aid stations.
No, that's a very interesting point that you make out there. Bear in mind, the entire 100-mile course is a 36-hour cutoff. If you have to take into contention those stops at all the stations, it could add up to around 2 hours. That's all of a sudden it's a 34-hour cutoff and not 36 hours anymore for the athletes.
Conditions today are going to be tough on the runners. It's going to get to about 32 degrees. Quite a dry heat. They're going to have to keep their hydration levels up, keep their salts well stocked. Make sure they eat at the aid stations, eat in between. Thankfully, due to great organisation on the part of the race planners, the 10 aid stations, 5 in each direction, are supplemented by the caravan aid stations halfway between each of those 10-mile stations. So there'll be plenty of replenishment opportunities for the runners along the route today, and it's going to be well needed.
We've had a host of events already starting. Of course, last night the 100-miler kicking off at 8 o'clock. This morning at 6 o'clock, the 50-mile athletes left the Benvie Gardens where the halfway mark of the 100-miler was. We've had the 42-kilometer athletes in 3 different batches that have started, and on our picture now you can see the first batch of the 21-kilometer race. I think if I was running today, this is probably maybe the event that I would have liked to have done, or maybe even the 10-kilometer. I'm not that fit at the moment.
Yeah, I see there's much excitement. I wonder if many of these people will or have hopes to advance to further distances next year at next year's event. Maybe we're looking at some future 50-milers there, and maybe in time a sprinkling of 100-milers for future races.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some good performances here today as well in the half marathon. Of course, in the 42-kilometer, we had some of the athletes from Pantani Running Club and Hollywood Bets there. One of them, the athletes in the colours of Hollywood Bets, was Mahlumulo Sekunyana, 4th place runner in the Comrades Marathon. So I think he will be one of the athletes definitely to watch out for today. But just looking at that 21-kilometer start line, I can see a couple more of the Pantani athletes. We've got Zotile and Moto, the Puma-sponsored athletes. There's just less than a minute until the first batch of the 21-kilometer athletes.
We're building the start. Listen to the music. Absorb the atmosphere. This is real life, people, and you're in for a very real experience. Beautiful trail made up of a variety. You've got your pines early on, nice and flowy into the dairy farm, and it's not called the Milk Loop for nothing. Some stunning indigenous sections. Lots of little ups and downs. The occasional road that you can just cruise on. 30 seconds. Let's keep that channel clear, and my marshals on the road, if you can hear me loud and clear, stop any vehicles moving through. We've only got 15 seconds to go. This is the start of the 21. It's going to be quite quick out the blocks. 5, 2, 1. Take it away. There you go, the first of the 21s. That's batch 5 of the morning.
The first batch of the half marathon athletes there, just going on their 21k loop of the Karkloof area. But back at Benvie Gardens, we've got one half of the race director, Jack Davis, that's standing by to take us through some of the action there at Benvie Gardens.
Down the road to Bushwiller, but the racing snakes on the 50 have come through. The first 2 ladies have come through on the 50, and Yolandi, so we've got a proper race on our hands. I think the first 4 or 500 miles are through, so here comes another runner. The 50, third place 50 coming through there. That's pretty cool. We're going to jump in the car and then I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm also having my breakfast, which is quite nice. So we're going to do that. Then Thomas, jump in the seat. Let's roll. So, good. It's kind of how it all works when you're out on route. You're just literally bouncing from aid station to aid station, solving a few things on the fly, making sure that everyone is well hydrated, well nutritioned. Your seatbelt's going to scream at you, unfortunately. It's not good. Here we go. So it's been a great morning. I started the 50 milers off, and that was cool. There was a whole bunch, and the atmosphere was power up at up at Benvie. The timing was really good. The first 4 or 5 100-milers came through. There was a bit of a crowd in. Joe Kepler, the leading lady, came through and it was at a hell of a pace. I managed to get around to Mbona Gate to see them come through. The Pirates crew from Joburg, from Pirates Running Club, were up front, mixing it up in the top sort of 6 or 7 or 3 or 4 of them.
Closest friend, my strength in days gone by. I spent my time in shallow sheets, I should have seen your hand. I didn't see the signs, was blinded by the lights, and lost where I belong.
Here we go, 5 minutes, the 5-minute warning for the next batch, 10 minutes between them seems to take quite a long time.
Something's
Sending you very shortly.
gone a bit skew, hopefully not with too many runs, but
I can see the final few runners checking in there. You've now only got 4 minutes until the start.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Hi. Sorry, we lost a bit of signal coming over the pass. The ladies' run is looking pretty good. I think they're going to get hot later at the back here. So, hydration's going to play a part. Pretty dry and dusty out here. The wind's still blowing, so it's going to blow the sweat off the runner's skin very quickly. Yeah. And set them up, unfortunately, for a long day if they're not hydrated properly. I know we are rolling a lot of nice stuff on. course now as the day progresses. So I really think it's worthwhile keep.
Are in the second batch. This is your final call. I hope you've all scanned in. If you haven't, just head to Dane underneath the KZNTR gazebo there. Scan in, and then you can go into the runner pound. It's the second batch. Only the second batch of 21k runners about to go out here. Quite a vibe that's building here this morning. Started very chilled at around 4:30 when we met all the 50 milers who jumped on a shuttle to head for Benvie, where they started at 6 o'clock this morning. Built up to the 7 o'clock start for the 42s. That was very exciting. The 20s just went off in their first batch, 21 kilometers, about 7-8 minutes ago, which was another vibey start. Now heading for batch 2 in only a minute and a half. And then I'm going to group the final batch. If you are in batch 7 or 8, which is the 3rd and 4th of the 21s, I'd like you all in one batch together at 8:05. But it's only a minute to go on batch 2 of 21s. Technically batch number 5. Follow those markers. Engage with those marshals. Your emergency contact.
Okay, cool. Sharp.
Wrong. "15 seconds. You're about on run time here. Let's make sure that road's closed, marshals. Make sure there's a nice gap for them to run in. The crowd took up the space all the way to the trees last night. But it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take it away. Batch 2 underway here for the half marathon at Karkloof Trail Festival. There we go. What a send-off they get. And the final batch. So I'm batching batches 7 and 8. That is all of the 21s that remain here. You guys will be going off at 8:05, regardless of what time we scheduled you to go off. 8:05 is your start time for all of the remaining 21s. That's the next batch. You guys can check in under the gazebo. You've got 10 minutes, so you don't have to do it straight away. But we'll send you off in one batch. That's batch 7 and 8 together at 8:05.
Well, beautiful overhead shot there of the Informer Gate as the athletes are making their way through the 6th station. You see there quite a tough terrain, Linda.
Yes.
You'd almost need some poles there.
Yeah, this is true single track and clearly slogging uphill there. Obviously the temperatures are are rising. Still bearable, still absolutely fine, but you can see the runners are coming across each other as they head back. Now you can see how steep that uphill was for that runner slogging. You can tell by this runner running downhill. Cuan, we've got the live timing, the live tracker has shown that the Adamborna Gate and Ashworth, some time ago now, about 10 minutes ago, was the 6th runner through Mborna Gate of the 50 miler, so she's well within the top 10 runners of her.
Only 2 minutes behind the male leaders there, Prodigal Kumalo.
Absolutely, and Yolande McLean is in 14th place, also through Mborna Gate. Interestingly, though, there's only 4 minutes between them.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a fast race, and the runners are still fairly tightly packed up front.
And Mborna Gate being the 6th aid station of the 100-mile race and the first for the 50-miler, I'll take that Mborna Gate is around 15-16 kilometers into the race for the 50-mile athletes.
Yeah, I don't know the exact distances, but these aid stations are really well placed, roughly 10 miles apart, because being a 100-miler, we need to talk miles, which is a bit complex for us South Africans who think in kilometers. But any viewers in the States will certainly understand the mile talk.
And we can also see great support there from the athletes, as we've got an update out from the road that Mzwakhe has now moved into 2nd. So it would be interesting to see whether it's still Kennedy or Admire who will be still up there in the lead. Going through Mborna Gate, as we see the athletes now make their way through that 6th aid station, Admire and Kennedy were about a minute and a half up from Mzwakhe. But I also wanted to mention, Linda, you know, as the athletes started here at 8 p.m. last night, they ventured off into the darkness on their own. There's a different aspect as they go into the daytime now, because now they actually have pacers that run with them. That can be very motivating for the athletes, especially when it starts getting through some tough and dark times.
Indeed. And the good thing is, this is the second half of the 100 milers race. So it's the tougher half. They know what to expect as far as the route is concerned. It's simply the reverse of what they did last night, but they won't have seen much of last night other than what their headlamp could illuminate, which is really nothing at all other than the 3 meters ahead of them. No landmarks, nothing. So now they're seeing it all in daylight, which has an advantage, sure, but now of course they're doing it on fatigue legs. They've already got 80 plus Ks on their legs, depending on where they are. Benvie is the turning point for the 100-miler, and it's the start for the 50K, which started at 6 this morning. So now the trail is getting pretty busy with the lead runners, the front third of the field of the 100-miler now going back on the route of that they ran last night. So they'll be coming across the second half, the back half of their field.
And essentially the 100-mile field would in essence now have doubled, because the athletes have got their pacemakers out there on the route with them. So very busy route, but at least the Karkloof Trail 100-miler, not too technical, so a lot of open roads and a lot of space for the runners to navigate safely.
Yeah, and I must say it's one of the advantages really of a route like this, an out and back route, in terms of being able to keep in good spirits. You're able to see your fellow participants, your fellow contestants, your friends who are doing the same race as you but are elsewhere in the field. Because you're going back against the flow. You'll see them. You know where you are in the field. It gives you that advantage. It gives you distraction. Can be encouraging. It can be very uplifting. And as you say, your paces. Not everybody has paces. It's your choice to have a pacer. It can be very tactical. Many people use paces for tactics, for strategy. Others simply for the upliftment, the encouragement, the motivation, and still others for just the opportunity to share the trail, the love of what they do with a friend, a close friend, a family member, to spend a day running with them. It's very special.
True, and if you had to take a guesstimate, I remember speaking to one of our cameramen last night who's been following a lot of the race, and he actually said that out of the 100-mile race, he'll probably on foot be covering around 60 kilometers in total. So these pacemakers are great athletes in their own right. But just some news from the course from Jack Davis, one half of the race organizers, that the first 3 50-milers are through where he is situated at the moment. We still have Philip Pakwago from the Pirates Running Club that's in first. He's gone out really, really hard. But then 3 minutes back, there's a bit of a chase pack that includes Patrick and Prodigal Kumalo. I think 2 or 3 times UTCT winner, Prodigal Kumalo himself, and the course record holder there as well as a double Comrades Gold medalist. And then you've got Anne Ashworth, who's not that far behind them, with Yolandi McLean, the second position in the ladies' race, another 4 minutes back. And that is Msomi Crossing, Linda.
Yeah, which is one of the caravan aid stations between Borna Gate and Bush Willow. These caravan aid stations are strategically placed between the 10-mile points of the aid station, so they're at roughly 5 miles, which is going to be very, very appreciated by all the runners today. Because of the heat, we're expecting 32 degrees today. So these midway points, these caravan aid stations between the main aid stations are going to be fundamental for keeping the runners cool, well hydrated. There won't be food at those caravan aid stations. There's Coke and water, but it'll be that's really important for keeping the fluid levels up today with this heat.
As we saw in the top left of the
Yeah, are you guys ready? Final send-off of 21s this morning. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take it away. 1 or 2 late sign-ins. That's not a problem, guys. This is a more chilled batch at the back. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe out there. Looking forward to welcoming you back. Got a 25 minutes before the 10Ks go.
I think that was the second batch of the 21K that just went off. We also have a 10-kilometer event that's also going to be starting shortly. So a host of events here, Linda, not just for the athletes that are doing the 100-miler or the 50-miler, but the whole family out here, and everyone has a distance to run.
Indeed, the vibe is really great here. It's a constant vibe. Things are picking up as things are warming up as well. It's a nice, comfortable temperature now, but we are going to be reaching quite some heats later.
Yeah, I think it won't be that much longer until I take off my very warm jacket that has been keeping me warm in the very chilly air at the Karkloof Country Club this morning. But as if you look on the right-hand side of the picture, beautiful scenes out there from the route. We saw one of the athletes earlier just going through a little bit of a water crossing there and putting water on their legs to cool down. If you look on the bottom right-hand side of the picture there, that's that little stream crossing, and that water, Linda, out on the route must be ice cold.
Absolutely, certainly with last night's temperatures.
While cameramen back out on the course, they of course will be covering quite a lot of the distance today. Some talented runners themselves out there on the course. We've got guys that are following both the 100-mile and the 50-mile races, and sure it won't be that long until we see one of the first athletes coming through to take on the second loop of the half marathon, when the 42 kilometer marathon athletes come through to complete their second loop. But Thomas is one of our cameramen running the 50 mile in the reverse direction, so that's what you currently see on screen. So he'll be starting to catch up to some of the racing snakes out front. Prodigal Kumalo, one of those athletes, and Ashworth at this stage dominating the ladies race.
Yeah, Cuan, I think we must point out to viewers who've recently joined us that that in the front pack of the 100 milers, the live timing is showing that Andrew Beggs is in 5th place. Please note, however, that there has been a timing chip confusion between two Andrews. It is in fact Andrew Erasmus who is in 5th place, not Andrew Beggs. Andrew Beggs is not ever a front runner. He will admit that himself. So he will find it very amusing that his name has been muddled with Andrew Erasmus. But it is indeed Andrew Erasmus who is in that chase pack. Cuan, tell us about who's leading the. There's been an interesting reshuffle amongst the leaders of the 100 miler in the last few minutes.
Yeah, so we had Kennedy Sekute together with Admire Musompangwa, the Zimbabwean athlete who's based in Johannesburg, who were in the lead. Zwake Kanyile, one of the local athletes, was around about a minute and a half back through that Mboma gate, but now we have heard that Zwake has actually run himself into 2nd position, so we'll just need to get a bit more feedback out from the course, whether it's Kennedy or Admire that is still in the lead. But as you mentioned earlier there, Linda, Mzwake himself, the course record holder here, I think it was 17 hours, 23 odd minutes.
27, yes.
27 minutes that you mentioned, and I think that's what we're seeing now is the experience coming through. An athlete like Mzwake, he's run this race, many times, but Mzwake now, from the feedback that we're getting on the course, is actually in the lead. So Mzwake, the course record holder, running the perfect race so far, and both Admire and Kennedy at this stage walking, Linda. So very interesting to see there. Just behind them, it would be interesting to see who comes through. But Martin Malherbe, through the 6th checkpoint there, was already 12 minutes down on them. But that's just the nature of 100 miles. Anything can happen. And Joe Kepler herself, 11 hours 37, just 7 minutes behind Andrew Erasmus. And as you mentioned, they're not Andrew Beggs, who went through that point. I think we are going to see a lot of changes, especially as the athletes make their way through to the 100-kilometer mark.
Absolutely, and in fact, I've just had feedback from the front there that Zwake actually has a 10-minute lead already on Kennedy and
Admire, both walking now.
They're both walking, so 10 minutes is a considerable lead. But as you say, Cuan, anything can happen, and it really depends on the terrain at the time.
Well, welcome back to the live pictures of the Karkloof 100-miler trail race. Apologies for the breakup in transmission there. We are out here in the middle of nowhere, up in the Karkloof Valley, and unfortunately the internet connection's not that strong.
10 minutes
so
to go,
unfortunately we get a few drops there, but a few of the athletes are warming up here. We've got the 10-kilometer that's about to start, but as the athletes are making their way through from the Mboma to Richwood, the next point in the race, let's take a little bit of a better look at that area.
So if you check in, that's where your time will start. So even if you are allocated,
do come and check in here. You guys are running out this exit over here. So if you watch the marathon start, you're not running like the 21s did. You're checking in over here, but you're running out here and then onto the field. We're also very close to welcoming our first 42 in at the halfway point. So Pirates, I hope you amped and ready. Your first participant shouldn't be too much longer coming through here. music. Let's get all the 10s into the batch. We'll hopefully get you all going together at 8 o'clock, so 8:30, maybe even slightly earlier. If you want to get a bit of a breeze, maybe cooling things down, but you guys will be heading across the field in the open to begin with. There is some cover, especially in the latter stages of your course. But
visuals there of the bush willow
it also is exposed. It's going to get warm out there. Here we go. Our first runner has just hit the field on the marathon. So you might have to make a little gap depending on the timing here. He's going to come into the aid station and he's going to have to run out the other side where you guys are checking in. But he's probably still about 3 or 4 minutes away. And as I said, he'll come through this aid station over here and then he'll head onwards.
Aid station here where the athletes are coming through to get their little goodies. But yeah, 2 athletes so far in the 42 kilometer coming through, as the athletes in your right hand side of the picture there in the 10 kilometer wait for their start to get underway just after 8 o'clock.
All right, so we got all the 10s in here. So cool, I see we've got a few more 10s coming across here. Guys, regardless of what batch you're in, I'm keen to get you out onto the trail. So go and check in underneath the KZN TR gazebo. Let's fill this batch up and perhaps send you all in one group. I think it's a great way to do it. Gets us all out on the trail at once, and you all know who you're running against and all those sorts of things. Also helps us just avoid a little bit of the heat. It is going to get hot. You've got an aid station out there as always with KZN TR events. Do be careful, don't push it too hard in the early stages, especially when you're exposed in the heat. It will then cool off in the forest slightly, but I can't make any promises. There comes our 3rd place in the marathon. I believe our first 2 have already gone through. So if we can just make a little gap here, guys. We do have a marathoner coming through. He might not spend too long at the aid station. I think later in the race, they spend a lot more time at the aid station. But here we go. Give him a round of applause as he goes straight through here onto his 2nd loop there. That's onto the milk, having finished the honey loop. All right, do I have all my
Hello, Benny.
checked in? It's 8:24. Official start time.
We're going to be crossing over to Benny Roo.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this back.
Benny,
If there are any others, I'll set them in the second batch.
audibility isn't so great because I'm competing with the microphone because they're about to announce the start of one of the next segments of the 21k race. So I might have to just call it and each chat in 10 minutes time, because then at least I can hear you. And I need to hear you, Benny.
Onto the field. Don't run across the track here. Get onto the field and then follow the markers around the edge of the field. From then onwards, your most important thing is that you engage.
Benny, I think
because there are splits. The markers are all pink, and you guys will turn left. The marshal will turn left. You do have a road crossing, a tar road crossing. You go under the first time, the second time you go over. There's a flags person there, but please do be very careful. It's probably the most dangerous point of the trail is crossing the tar where you do have quicker vehicles moving. You'll come out into these trees here. So the end bit of the trail does have some relief from the sun, but you're going to be pretty exposed for the beginning of it. If you're not checked in yet, I'm going to send you in your... Oh, there we go, our last runner checking in. Dane, we got you on timing. I've got a thumbs up from Dane. It's early. We don't start races early very often, but we are going to this morning. It's 8:26. You can come right up to the start line if you want to, guys. And it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 10 kilometer. Take it away. There we go. Johnny will just guide you around there. Go to the KZN trail running flag. And there we go, sending them all off. Enjoy, guys. Take it easy to start with. It's nice and hot now. The final race of the Karkloof Trail Festival here this weekend, 24th to 26th September, is underway. It's the 10 kilometer. It's going to have some competition in it up front. They're starting off nice and slowly, but no doubt there's going to be a bit of testing. But great to see a lot of people just out there for the experience as well. And right at the back, Mum and Babe. Enjoy yourselves, guys.
And we're crossing over live to Benny Roo.
Looks like 5th place just coming in there on the trail marathon.
Benny,
One of the Martin Academy runners, I think. Quick bit of coke, and he'll be on his way.
Hi, Linda, I can hear you. Linda, I can hear you if you can hear me.
The wind is picking up, sure. Sure, maybe I'm on. Crossing live now to Benny Roo in Joburg. Benny, are you there? Can you hear me? And we're going to be crossing live to Benny Roo, the winner of Karkloof 100 Miler, the inaugural Karkloof 100 Miler in 2017. Benny, can you hear me? No, Benny, you're going to have to speak very loudly. I can only just hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, Benny, you're very, very faint. I'm just going to work on that from my side.
Okay.
Okay, so Benny, it's great to have you with us today. I wish that you were here at the Karkloof Country Club, but the FOMO is huge, I'm sure, from your side.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was at the inaugural Karkloof, and it was so great that I went back the following year. But yeah, I missed out last year and this year. So hopefully next year is my year again.
And Benny, you christened this race, this inaugural version of the race in 2017, with a fantastic time, especially for an inaugural race, 18:11. And I must say, the guys since then have been using that as a benchmark to push beyond, admittedly, but it remains sort of up there, obviously, with many of the fast times. Tell us a bit about your experience of that race. I know the conditions were a little bit cooler that day than are to be expected today. Today we're expecting 32 degrees, dry conditions, which is good, so no mud. But the heat will hammer the runners today. So tell us, Benny, about your 2017 win.
Yes, it was actually one of those races where I just pitched up, and I didn't expect to win. I was going for maybe a top 10 place at best, and everything that could went wrong on that race went wrong. My iPod died, my headlight, both my batteries died. I had to make a plan, and I think just because so many things went wrong, I wasn't really focusing on the running. I was just focusing on all these other problems, and I think it's probably the best race ever that I've run. I still have big FOMO about the race, and I would really love to come back. The race, it was actually perfect weather in 2017. I think that was the inaugural race, if I'm not wrong. And it actually started pouring in the middle of the race, I think, or towards the end of the race. And it got quite cold out there. And if I can give the guys a bit of a tip, whenever it gets that cold, you just need to move a bit faster and don't start walking. But for the heat today, I don't really have any tips for the heat. You just have to suffer.
Yes, yeah, it is. I think fluid intakes are really important for heat in advance of the heat. So for today's field, for instance, they need to be aware of what to expect later and to prevent, to act now to prevent the effects of later with the heat.
Absolutely, is to try and keep your core temperature down, whether you're pouring water or go sit in a stream if there is any. I think that will be important, and to keep hydrated.
Yeah, it's so true. And Benny, what other tips, if you could give the runners some tips if they could be listening, which they won't be, but for future years, what tips would you give 100-mile runners on this particular course? for a good race?
Well, my number one tip is always to force feed yourself. You have to keep the tank full. If you run out of fuel, you're not gonna finish the race. So force feed yourself and try to stick to normal food like bananas and potatoes and peanut butter sandwiches and stuff like that. You won't feel hungry, but you have to force feed yourself. I think the second tip is to watch your feet, because so many people suffer from blisters, and they always ask me why I don't get blisters. It's because I take care of my feet. You would often see me at an aid station, completely cleaning my shoes, my socks, everything. I don't want any dirt in there. So that's another tip. Look after your feet, and then run economically. Don't burn all your matches in the third staff. Don't burn all your matches on the hills. Rather run the race with an equal effort. So never.
We go next of our 42s coming into the aid station.
And then just hang a bit.
If you want to top up here, no doubt about it. Get some.
That's about it, I think.
Some Coke, some cream soda, whatever your favorite is there. Maybe a bite of an orange, and then it's onto the milk loop. You'll head out across the road.
You're extremely experienced with the ultra stuff. Not just 100 milers, but you won the Munga.
Well done.
I think that same year was it 2018. I lost track of the years, but you did a fantastic performance at the Munga, which makes this distance look a baby version. So things like foot management and economic running, play an even greater role over those sorts of distances. And you're the master of that. I must say, you showed that.
Oh, thanks. The Munga will always be close to my heart. It's kind of the race that defined me, and such a pity that the race was also cancelled due to COVID, and we're not sure at this stage whether it will ever be back again. But yeah, let's keep our hopes up. Maybe it will be back.
1:30, so looking like they may well break that 3-hour barrier.
Benny, I'm gonna hope that you're available a little bit later today. Because I must say the audibility isn't so great right now, and I have so many more questions I want to ask you, and that the listeners want to hear. So I'm really hoping that if we get in touch in a few hours' time, we can steal another 10 minutes or so of your time, Benny. It really would be great to chat some more.
Yes, please. I'm available the whole day. Just chat.
Great.
Cool.
Benny, thank you.
All right.
It's been great touching base, and we're going to do the second half of this interview with Benny Roo in a few hours' time, when Benny will tell us more about his secrets to his ultra running success. Thank you, Benny. Great to
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to cross over now to some of the live footage, either at Benvie or see what's happening there as the race hots up with the 50 miler in the early stages of the 50 miler. We're now a couple of hours in, and obviously with the 100 miler runners now going back on themselves along the course in the same direction as the 50 milers are.
Well, welcome back to the live pictures of the 2021 Karkloof Trail Series 100 miler, 50 miler, marathon, 21k, 10k. Any events I'm missing there, Linda? Yeah, great atmosphere here, but that's a wrap for this morning, for this morning's update from the trails here in Karkloof. We've got a very exciting race happening in the 100 miler as well as the 50 miler, but we're going to wrap things up here this morning from the Karkloof Country Club. It's not the last that you'll be seeing of us today. We will be back on later on in the day to bring you the winners of the 100 miler, the 50 miler, and all the various distances. Keep a lookout on the social media handles under the Karkloof Trail Series on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then don't forget, Linda, they can actually also follow via the live tracking on the updates on the app.
Absolutely. And as the race heats up, literally and figuratively in terms of competition, we will be back to bring you all the down and dirty on the runners and their positions as they approach the last 20 to 30 Ks of their race for those front runners. It's going to be really, really dramatic.
So it's not a goodbye, we'll see you later.
It's got all the instructions.